We had an executive tell a room full of people that he would dig up his dead grandmother and fuck her if we got Bill Murray.
Like as a threat or as like...
Like, yeah, right.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's as likely as me digging up my dead grandmother and fucking her.
Yeah.
I mean, what a place to work where you could just throw out those scenarios. Like, if I were in my job and I had like a meeting and they're like, Clint, can you do this? Like, that's as likely as me digging up my dead grandmother and fucking her. Like, my boss would be like, What?
You'd get a call from HR and like 5 minutes later.
Yeah, I'd be gone.
Oh, see? But your fault putting filth in people's minds.
I feel like that was a deleted scene from Poltergeist.
It was.
With all the dead bodies coming out of the pool.
Oh,
Yeah.
Jesus. Grandma? Making stuff is hard, especially in the entertainment world, when there are millions of dollars on the line. We're going to talk about these disastrous, never-ending, and sometimes downright dangerous productions. This is The Shit Show. Hello, friends. That's right, you're all friends now. My name is Ian, joined as always by Clint and Ray.
Hello.
Now, since we are doing something different today by covering a video game for the first time, I thought, why not invite our friend from Cutscenes and Cupcakes, a video game podcast, and our gracious two-time host from Utah Remote Con. Welcome, Steph.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
I have a cold, so I sound like shit.
Well, it's my
That's all
excuse.
right, it happens.
Like, I don't have a cold.
Yeah, I don't know. That's just your voice.
You're just a troll.
He's like,
Bring me the bones of your children.
An actual troll.
Going back to the roots, I like it.
Yeah, thank you.
Didn't go straight to internet troll.
No, I don't even know how to do that.
That's too dark for him.
That's too dark. Yeah, eating the bones of children is like that's just even kill for me. But like internet trolling, that's just way too dark.
Yeah.
I have a little bit of pride.
So, Steph, tell us about Cutscenes and Cupcakes.
We've been doing cutscenes for about 2 years now, and we've covered a bunch of different video games from like anything from like Halo to BioShock. Although I did tell these guys I haven't played a Zelda game yet. So that's like, I'm like, next season we have to make sure we are doing Zelda.
You have to.
I know.
That's like, I mean, literally, Zelda is royalty.
I know. There's 3 of us, and I do think I'm the only one who hasn't played a Zelda game.
That's crazy.
I know. I shouldn't be allowed to podcast anymore.
You're done. Get out.
This is
Well,
our
no, that's why
Zelda.
you're here, because you got laid off of your podcast.
Ironically, though, you have played the Ghostbusters game,
I have.
which was very surprising because I'd never even heard of this game.
So the reason we are doing this is so I'm currently working on a Ghostbusters video chronicling the decades it took to make a follow-up to Ghostbusters 2 from 89 up to last month's Ghostbusters Afterlife. I'm very timely with my videos, obviously. And if you know about the movie in between those two films, you know exactly what I mean when I say shit show. But we're not talking about that today. But in the process of writing it, I had to take a detour to 2009's Ghostbusters, the video game, because it is important, which we'll get to. But I quickly realized that there was enough of a shit show just for the game, and it was kind of like too much of a detour. And so I was like, let's just make this a podcast. Bring Steph, our friend, in.
Woo.
So here we are. And Clint, what do you got that you look very uncomfortable over there?
Yeah, I brought my Ghostbusters Proton Pack, and I'm wearing my Ghostbusters shirt. So here we go. Ready for this? Catch that ghost. And it goes on forever. So
we have to
Does
just
it not
wait
stop?
20 minutes
No,
for
I
that.
think
We
I can
just sit here.
there we go. I can just turn it off like that.
No, but is it just keep going?
Oh yeah. It takes like a good 20 seconds. So that's what our listeners have to look for. Okay, that's enough.
Nice.
Okay, now I'm going to take this off.
Oh, you don't want to sit there with that giant thing on your back?
This flat, uncomfortable plastic
Yeah.
protruding into my back. Yeah, no, I'm good.
Clint did it up this time. He's got the Proton Pack. He's got the Ghostbusters T-shirt.
I watched the whole entire gameplay, the playthrough. I watched the one that links you sent me. So
Yes.
I am prepared. That's
How long was that?
it's like 3.5 hours.
It was 3.5
Good,
hours.
Sweet
So
baby Jesus.
I couldn't watch Blues Brothers, one of my favorite movies, but I watched a video game I've never played before.
watch a video game.
Yeah.
I have,
I guess that's you're
It's a
like
thing.
kids now. It's kids do on Twitch.
but I can't imagine sitting down and watching 3 hours of
It took
somebody
me a
play
couple
through
days.
A game. Okay.
No, I there wasn't a lot going on at work, so I was
Yes, I figured that was a good thing that you
Yeah.
could have on the side. I was doing the same thing.
like,
Steph, you've played it
I played it 2 years ago.
2 years ago. Do you remember anything about it?
I re-listened to my episode, and we're funny as fuck, by the way. People should listen to my podcast.
Yes, go listen.
Were you a Ghostbusters fan going into it?
No,
or-
actually. In fact, I think in my podcast I did say I don't think I saw any of the movies when we played the game. So, and I fixed that since then, and now I have watched all of them, including the girl one. I should know the name of it and not just refer to things as the girl thing.
It was just called Ghostbusters at the time, but then right before it came out, it was they changed the title because they realized that their cataloging would suck, and so they changed it to Ghostbusters Answer the Call.
I mean, you can also say the girl one.
People know
People know
what
what that means.
Yeah.
The trolls definitely know
No,
what
the
that
trolls
means.
turned that into a thing where it's like, what do we have to call the original, the male one? No.
no, just
No.
Ghostbusters.
Maybe we should call it the male one.
Yeah.
Let's throw that out
The
there.
male one.
So I did play it shortly after it came out. I think I got it like a couple months when it went to a discount or something like that. Do you remember me playing it at all?
No, I
Okay.
was unaware of this game's existence. In fact, when you told me about it, I assumed it was like some shitty like NES game from the like 90s or whatever. So when I was talking to Steph about it, I'm like, oh yeah, you know the old Ghostbusters game from the 90s. And she's like, oh, I played the one from 2009. And I went, oh, maybe that's the one we're talking about. Maybe that's
No idea.
No.
Well, isn't there like an old like NES or Super
There are
NES game?
lots of Ghostbusters video games.
Okay.
Okay.
And
So
we're
I
only going
was
to be
kind
going
of
to be
right.
talking about two of them. And so because it's so story heavy, there is someone just took all the cutscenes and most of the gameplay or the story related stuff and cut it into a 3-hour movie that I sent to Clint because he didn't have time to play it. And I rewatched it, kind of reminded myself of what it was, but
Because they did they did the game in 2009, but then they released a remastered one a couple years ago, right?
yes, 2 years ago. Yeah,
Did you
the
play it in
remaster.
2009 or did you do the remaster?
2009. I did it back in the day.
Yeah, I
'Cause
have
we bitched a lot
no
about
memory.
the graphics. And it's interesting because do you change graphics in a remaster or are you changing art from the past or are you making it better now that we have better graphics?
It really, from what I understand, that the remaster. Did you play the remaster? Okay, so the remaster, from what I understand, is all they did is just cleaned up, so it's not as blurry.
Yeah, and they changed the audio so that you could actually understand what their ghosts are saying and things like that.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, because that watching through, like listening to like the ghosts like whisper and shit like that. Like this is
It's like,
yeah, like get away from here. You can't be here. Yeah, oh my god, this
And
is
you're
cool.
like, pardon? What?
Yeah, huh? Did you say something?
Speak up.
Talking to my
Speak up.
coworker. I have a right to be here.
Clint, you would not be good in a horror situation. You're like the
Hell
ghosts start whispering to you, and you're like, "Hey, what did you say?
What?
Get out of what?
Where?
This is your house?
Whose blood you gonna drink? Yeah. I love horror movies, but I would die instantly.
Okay, so I was doing this recording, and I was working on a movie at the same time, so I was going into Manhattan and working on the weekends doing all this recording. I got really back into the Ghostbusters thing, and it was fun being Dr. Peter Venkman, and I was laughing, and I was improvising. It was just like being on the movie. It was like a lot of fun. And I go out on the street, and it's Manhattan on a Sunday morning around 9 o'clock, and I start singing the dang Ghostbusters song. And some couples walk on the street, and they look at me like, get over it, pal. It was funny.
Okay, to start us off, I want you all to put your minds in the 2 decades, 20 years of Dan Aykroyd and Harold Ramis teasing month after month that they were working on a third Ghostbusters movie, and it never coming to reality. And in my video, I will detail all this more explicitly. That sounded dirty when I said it.
I'll be very
But my
explicit.
But the
Check out
key-
Ian's OnlyFans.
Yeah. He's very explicit there.
But the key things to know is that how much Aykroyd really wanted to make another one, and Bill Murray really didn't. Long story short, Bill Murray felt he was tricked into doing Ghostbusters 2 and that it wasn't an enjoyable experience nor a good movie. And to top it off, he had a falling out with his close friend, Harold Ramis.
Aw.
So,
I can't even imagine that. That's the saddest thing I've ever
yes.
heard.
So that's why it never really came to pass that there was a Ghostbusters in that time. So out of nowhere, an unlikely solution arose in the form of video game developer Terminal Reality.
It's a badass name.
But they're mostly known for their sexy vampire series, Blood Rain.
Oh, okay. I heard about them.
Yeah, so
I
that's
mean, I've never played them, but I've
They've
heard
got
of
an
it.
OnlyFans too.
yeah.
Sexy vampires are hot right now.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
people love a sexy vampire.
I don't know.
Rain, the character in those, was the first video game character in Playboy.
Oh,
there you go.
That's like a great credit.
Right?
What great representation, you know? Just for video game characters everywhere. I
Who
love it.
gets that job? Hey, hey Jeff, you gotta design the nude art for Playboy. Can I take this project home?
I'm gonna need to be gonna need to work from home for the next 3 months. Okay, thanks.
3 months.
It takes him 3 months.
I don't know. I know how long it takes to make that shit. He stretched it out. Okay, he stretched it out.
Yeah, it's called tantric. Okay.
Anytime you say a joke that I love, I'm just gonna start up my proton pack.
Shoot it down.
Yeah, that's the new rim shot.
Okay, right off the bat, we're doing a side shit show. Spy Hunter. Anybody heard of this game?
yeah.
Arcade game from 1983. You control a car that has machine guns in the front, an oil slick in the back, and can turn into a boat. What kind of car does that sound like?
Sounds like Knight Rider.
Wait, it has a
Kinda.
machine gun in the front, an oil stick in the back, and it can turn into a boat?
Oh, it sounds like an Aston Martin.
like a
Bond.
pussy
Oh, like a
Batmobile.
Bond.
Yeah.
Like,
Pussy. I thought you were going with Pussy Galore, but no.
Yeah.
James Bond.
like some kind
That's
of
what I was going
James
for.
Bond vehicle.
This was meant to be a James Bond game, but they couldn't get the license.
Oh.
So instead, they called it Spy Hunter, and the game just uses the Peter Gunn theme throughout. Just like
Ding, ding,
weird.
ding. Isn't that what it is?
Yeah.
Ding, 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 ding,
I like
Yeah.
that they kind of like shot their shot. They're like, "Hey, we're gonna aim for Bond."
Yeah.
And then we just didn't.
And
have
we'll
Nah,
pull it
fuck
back. They're like, it's called Jim Braun Spy Hunter.
004.
James Carr.
700.
Okay, so that was a big game in the 80s, and then
Mm-hmm.
when the turn of century, when they all decided that, hey, we should make movies out of video games. In 2003, Universal buys the rights to the game and gets upcoming action star The Rock to star in it. Then they hire Terminal Reality, bringing it back.
Mm-hmm.
They hire Terminal Reality to make a tie-in video game for the movie, which don't really happen anymore, but this was a big thing.
Back in the day, that was cool.
Has anyone seen this movie?
No, I didn't even know it was a thing. Spy Hunter.
Of course not, because the movie was never made.
Twist.
Clint's like
So,
on IMDb, like Spy
They
Hunter.
had
The Rock?
The directors that went through it were John Woo from like Face Off, and who also was at one point to do a Metroid movie. Paul W.S. Anderson, not the cool Paul Anderson, the one that
P.T.
did
Anderson?
the
Mortal Kombat.
Mortal Kombat.
Yes, it all comes back to me.
And all the shitty Resident Evil movies
Yeah.
and the most recent shitty Monster Hunter movie. And then Ruben Fleischer, who did Zombieland and Venom. All at one point were to make this movie. And so many different writers. And the last news was in 2016. So this has just been going on forever. But in the middle of that, Spy Hunter, Nowhere to Run, starring The Rock, the movie tie-in video game released in 2005 to a movie that never
That
was
never
made.
happened.
That is
Wow.
amazing.
I think they just call that a video game at that point. It's no longer a movie tie-in video game. It's just a video game.
Anyway, that's Terminal Reality.
They sound real cool.
Okay, so just to keep score here, their current credit list includes a shitty James Bond knockoff spy game that wasn't a movie, and that's like that's their starting point for then being hired to make the Ghostbusters game.
Yes. So
All right. Well,
so they don't have the greatest of
choice.
track records. So in 2005, Terminal Reality, so they're based in Texas. They were working on this like demo. They're kind of messing with some stuff, and then they were like, "Oh, this kind of sounds like a cool version of a game." And then someone like was in the meeting going, "This looks like Ghostbusters. Like this could be Ghostbusters." And they were like, "What?" And so so secretly.
so like whatever prototype they were making was like 4 guys with like a pack that catches ghosts and put them in a trap. Like they were just making Ghostbusters.
No, I would assume it was probably something with like a laser that like attaches to things.
Well, that kind of seems like their thing. Like we're kind of making a general idea, but like there's a really big movie that's very similar to it.
Right.
Let's
that you
see if
can-
we can
Pivot.
make it become one.
Pivot. So executive producer John Melchior, he first meets with Mark Kaplan of Sony, and Mark Kaplan handles like brand licensing, and he is given the go-ahead to make a prototype, a demo. In the video game world, you have to make a prototype to prove to investors that this is something worth making. It's kind of a weird way. It's kind of like, it's not like a script. It's kind of like making one portion of that movie and going, can we make the rest of the movie?
It's a sizzle reel.
Yeah, it's like making a sizzle reel or
Kind
like
of.
a
well,
scene or
a slice,
something
a vertical slice. You just go,
Yeah.
this is what this one sequence would be like.
of the game.
Yeah.
Right.
Sizzle game.
Ooh, I like that. That's catchy.
Yeah.
Okay. So after they get nail
Copyright.
this down, Melchior demos their prototype to Dan Aykroyd at one of his House of Blues clubs, actually, and discusses Terminal Reality's intentions for a full game. And Aykroyd instantly gives his blessing to this.
Of course he does.
Of course he does. Steph, you are our hero of the story, John Melchior.
Hell yeah.
And this is what he said about when he met Dan Aykroyd.
I think he felt this wasn't a license slap or an opportunity play. We were fans that wanted to explore this universe and do it in a way that was respectful to canon and in the tone, style, and look as the film. This was also something that Kaplan wanted to ensure was happening. Dan loved the work and felt like it was in the right hands, ones that will pay attention and make decisions that were in the best interest of the IP.
So he felt like he kind of walked out of there going, yeah, like these guys will get it. But as you said, Dan Aykroyd will say yes to anything.
Yeah.
He just loves anyone like. Is he like the Netflix of humans? He's like greenlit. You're greenlit. Go do it.
He kept trying to greenlight Ghostbusters and never happened. Okay, so licensed games usually suck. By and large, 9 times out of 10, they've all been terrible. And most of that is because video games take longer to make than they movies do. And so they're kind of rushed products. And only till recently, stuff like Batman Arkham Asylum, which was one like the greatest licensed games, was kind of turning that. And since then, there have been a lot of really great licensed games. But before that, it was like terrible, especially during the old 8-bit and 16-bit years. So, Ghostbusters in 1984 for the Commodore 64. It was made in guesses how much time?
3 months, just like that Blood Rain
I'm gonna say
Playboy
8.
spread.
I'm gonna say 8 months.
8 months.
I'm going to split the difference and say 5.5.
5.5 months?
Is that the difference? I don't know. Yes,
Okay,
5.5 months.
Okay. 6 weeks.
That is no time. That is no time. That's like
so-
an update to a game amount of time.
Comparatively, E.T., the very famous, terrible E.T. game, that was made in 5 weeks.
Jesus.
So this was designed by David Crane, who did Pitfall, which was another famous one. And he hadn't seen the movie yet because it was still being made.
Definitely a good choice.
Yeah.
Did they at least like explain to him like here's what
Yeah, I think they handed him the script.
Yeah. They
but-
wear like electricity backpacks that throw lasers.
Yeah, but like he said that they gave him the script, but knowing that movie, it was like improvised to hell.
Yeah.
So it's like, what did he read?
Yeah.
Okay, now it's mostly known as being ported over to the NES by a Japanese developer, making it unbearably hard because this was most people bought it. This is the people who experienced it were like, this game is fucking difficult. So, but very famously, this game ends with this screen. Jenny Ray, you're going to be our video game person, so will you read what this is? How the game ends?
Okay, the game says, "Congratulation." Is it say literally congratulation?
Yes.
Okay.
This is poorly.
Okay.
This is a Japanese developer who poorly translated this.
I see. So no one localized this correctly. Congratulation, you have completed a great game and proved the justice of our culture. Now go and rest our heroes. I love it. No notes.
Print.
I'm gonna get that tattooed on my back.
The Nintendo seal of quality. Yeah.
I love congratulation.
Congratulations.
Congratulation.
We need to bring that back.
So that was the original game that everybody hates, and since then there have been a bunch of others. One of them was based off of Extreme Ghostbusters, which was a cartoon I never watched, but apparently they took the Game Boy version of it was like Garfield's Labyrinth, and they just reskinned it with Ghostbuster characters.
That's funny.
Because those go hand in hand, Garfield and Ghostbusters.
Apparently, there was a Chex cereal video game that was just Doom. Like, yeah, like if you see, yeah,
Chex Doom.
is and like the cover art for it was like you were like this Chex, square with a head with a gun, and you had to like fight,
Osteoporosis.
I guess, but like the video game it was just Doom,
Oh my god.
killing
Just
aliens.
reskinned.
Just, yeah, like very minimal reskinning.
Oh my
How do I
god.
get my hands on this
I
game?
want
Yeah, it
I
can't.
want it so bad.
They sold like some crazy outrageous like 6 million copies just from because they put it in your cereal box. Like that's the
It
prize
was
you
just
got.
like
It was a disc. Yeah.
A whole ass disc in a cereal box. Those were the days, you guys.
AOL
Why go
online.
spend like $30 on Doom when you could just go get that in a cereal box?
And
Have
then you
have
also
played
have
Doom?
delicious
Well, I
cereal.
played the Chex game.
The Chex version.
I played Chex of Doom. Does that count?
That has to be worth like a shit ton of money now.
Yeah,
Right.
probably.
Okay, so going back to the main story, here we go. Melchior then saw Harold Ramis, who really stressed making sure that the humor works in it, and also gave his blessing. After that, pre-production was on, so they basically can have to come up with all their stuff for the game. The story and dialogue were written by John Zur Platten, Flint Dilley, and Patrick Haggerty. Those all sound made up.
I was just going to say that. Like, are those actual people, or was it just like the one guy who was like, I'll pretend 3 people
Yeah.
wrote this?
Along with some help from Melchior. They would write concepts and ideas down and ask Aykroyd and Ramis for feedback. Again, this is a video game, so they don't have permission nor funding to make the game start to finish yet. So, 7 months in, beginning of 2007, game is completely in secret. Nobody knows that they're making this. They're ready to pitch their 20-minute demo for Sony and Vivendi Games. So they need them to get the final go-ahead. When a completely unrelated tech demo from Slovenian developer Zootfly posted some videos on YouTube that look suspiciously a lot like a Ghostbusters game.
Oh my
So-
god.
Everyone at Terminal Reality freaks out because the videos that they start posting look further along than they were.
Yeah.
I was gonna
shit.
say the graphics look way cool on that.
Yeah, like, I mean, it's pretty shitty grainy footage, but that's
Yeah.
all that's left, right?
Right.
My thing about that is that like the proton pack stick looked like a giant
Yeah,
Gatling
it's like,
gun.
it's a huge thing.
Like
Yes.
you think technology would have gotten so far as that it'd just be smaller, like, but it was bigger than what the Ghostbusters actually had.
Well,
Right,
whatever they're doing, right? So everybody at Terminal Reality is like, are they dead in the water? Like, what the fuck is going on? Did Sony not tell us about this?
Yeah.
Right? Turns out Zootfly had been working on that game for over a year without ever contacting Sony. They
I
just
kind of
started.
feel bad for Zootfly now.
Yeah. So what was their
Snooze, you lose, Zootfly.
But like what was their plan there? Were they
I
just like,
think-
"Oh, we just want to make a fun demo and like we all like Ghostbusters, so we'll just kind of like
I think
co-op
it was
that."
their pitching. They literally were pitching to Sony. Like they put it all up on the web on the internet to be like, hey,
Let us make this game.
and fans' reactions to it with the concept was like overwhelmingly positive. People were like, Gears of War meets Ghostbusters, like hell yeah, count me in. And I'm sure that was just them going, hey, if we do this, Sony will be like, sweet, let's work with them. They're already halfway there. But they probably had no idea that Terminal Reality was already had the permission.
rights and the
Had the
permission,
talk,
yeah.
they're already in talks for it.
That is such a huge risk for a small developer to take because you betting that like, oh, you know what, I'm going to like rip off your IP and make a game demo so that you'll notice me and let us make this game. Honestly, probably 99% of the time, you're just going to get an angry cease and desist letter that's
exactly.
like, fuck you, stop making this.
Yeah.
Like, they're not going to suddenly go, oh, yeah, tiny Slovenian indie developer. Like, we love you to make our Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
Never, ever
Especially
in your
Sony.
life.
Zootfly's just eternal optimist. It's gonna work. I know it.
Yeah,
I know,
that's
that's what I'm saying, like, I
that's our
admire
whiteboard.
their-
We're putting it out there.
Yeah. They're like, the secret.
dream
We're,
board.
we're manifesting.
Our dream board is YouTube.
Right? All it is on their have just the Ghostbusters symbol. That's all they have on their dream board. Is, yes, we'll get there.
Ghostbusters one day. We haven't been making any other games.
Yeah.
Now
put-
Zootfly is in distress. They're not even a thing anymore because they didn't get the Ghostbusters game.
Well, so exactly what happened.
Yeah.
Sony
Oh,
did.
no.
Lawyers descended upon them, pulled all the footage. So all that's left is that one video that someone else re-uploaded a couple years ago. Zootfly is forced to abandon their game, and so they pivot to something called Time O or Time Zero, which has never been released. So I don't know what ever happened to Zootfly.
Sad.
Sorry.
Poor Zooty.
Probably. Yeah. Probably shuttered at this point. Closed down.
But again, people were like, "Hey, that's really cool. That's a cool idea."
Yeah, I mean,
and
pretty
it's 'cause-
much all they did was give the real game like sort of free hype and publicity. Yeah.
So, and this is the beginning of the Xbox 360 era and PlayStation 3. So HD gaming was here. So it was kind of finally like they could pull off this kind of stuff. This all happens. Then Melchior goes into his pitch meeting.
Melchior just sounds like a Gozerian god.
Maybe
Or
it was
like-
perfect.
Yeah.
Or like Excelsior.
Yeah.
Like,
Guys, the twist at the end of this is he doesn't exist.
he doesn't exist.
Made him up. The demo had stand-in voices, but they made very like inside jokes about the companies, calling out certain people in the room that would have been in there to be kind of like, hey, you know, like, hey, John from Finance, I don't know, like, to like help soften them up.
Yeah.
Jenny Ray, since you're going to be our video game person, this is Mark Randall, co-founder of Terminal Reality, talking about after that pitch.
So Mark says, what Zootfly did for us inadvertently is help sell the concept. When their footage came out, we were close to our green light meeting. And when the executives saw the reaction from the fans, they immediately knew, hey, Ghostbusters is going to be a big hit. We need to put this game into production.
And they were greenlit.
So like they didn't even do the like heavy lifting of like greenlighting their own game. I just, I feel like Zootfly should at least get like some money for that.
Or like
Something.
maybe like hire some of them.
Some
like,
like, oh hey, you guys really love Ghostbusters, come work for us.
yeah.
Something.
Melchior then gets Ernie Hudson, Annie Potts, William Atherton, who played Walter Peck, the environmentalist guy in the first movie, and then Max von Sydow, who did the voice of Vigo, and then Brian Doyle Murray, who he was the psych ward doctor in Ghostbusters 2, but he was like a really small part. But in the game, he plays the mayor. He's also Bill Murray's older brother, and he is a very recognizable actor. If you saw him, you would instantly recognize his voice. He plays the mayor in Groundhog Day. What I remember most is Wayne's World. Asphincter says what? What?
Yeah, he's got a very gravelly voice.
Yes, exactly. Unsure if they ever reached out to Sigourney Weaver or Rick Moranis, but maybe their story just didn't go there. Now they just need who?
Bill.
Bill Murray.
What about Bill?
Okay, so this is what Melchior said about getting Bill Murray.
Everyone told us, everyone said, you are not getting Murray. No way, no how. In our initial meetings with Harold and Dan, they even cautioned us about getting in touch with him, and having him do lines was going to be a task. We had an executive at Vivendi tell a room full of people that he would dig up his dead grandmother and fuck her if we got Bill Murray.
Like
Wow.
as a threat, or as like,
Like, yeah, right.
yeah, right, yeah, that's
Yeah.
as likely as me digging up my dead grandmother
Yeah.
and fucking her.
Yeah.
Yikes.
I want to know if he did it now.
Well,
We're about to find out.
so what's funny about that is, like, do you just have that in the back of your mind as like a just in case? Like,
That's my threat all the time.
yeah.
Well, what a place to work where you could just throw out those scenarios. Like, I would, if I were in my job and I had like a meeting and they're like, Clint, can you do this? Like, that's as likely as me digging up my dead grandmother and fucking her. Like, my boss would be like, what?
You'd get a call from HR and like 5 minutes later.
Yeah, I'd be gone.
As a person who worked in entertainment, it's very different.
Yeah, you don't get that kind of talk in higher ed.
There's no HR. You drop F-bombs all day long. No one really cares.
Well, remember grandpa or grandma fucker, because he'll come back.
All right.
So that was an executive at Vivendi, or
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So right off the bat, he calls Bill Murray's infamous 1-800 line, which is what he uses for any business, and he only checks it a few times a year. So people who reach out to want to be in his movie, he only will listen to it months from then, and then even if he cares. And the only person he's ever said that he's like gets an automatic yes is Wes Anderson. So everybody else is just kind of like, you're just hoping that when you ask him to do something, he's going to be one of those days where he's close to checking his
He'll
messages.
check his
and if it interests
voicemail
him,
that's
yeah.
on tape. It's still
Is
on
that
fucking
still a
tape.
thing for him?
Absolutely.
Wow.
Yep.
It's wild times.
Do we know that 1-800 number?
I think it's
to be like-
1-800 Bill Murr. That makes sense.
You had to sit there and go through the numbers.
Might-
in your report.
B-I-L-L.
3 and then 4. That's 7. Okay. Yep.
No, that's still very much a thing. But I thought about that. It's like, what if you just said, "Hey, you want to be on a podcast about blank?" And you just be like, "Sure, I've got nothing going on around that time." Like,
Yeah.
Well, I feel
I'll
like
do-
he's the type of person who would totally do that.
He
Yeah, I
does-
mean, he's
he
the kind of guy
inserts
that-
himself into so many random fan situations
Yeah,
and just
like
like
he-
photobombs people's pictures. Like,
yeah, exactly.
he's a wild card.
Yes, he is. So months go by. He doesn't call back. He calls again. Nothing. Meanwhile, Harold Ramis and Dan Aykroyd help fine-tune the around 1,000-page script, which is not crazy for a video game when it's all narrative-focused.
Mm-hmm.
So narrative-focused games just like, Mass Effect ones are probably like 10,000 pages.
Well, and Dan Aykroyd has experience in really long scripts.
Oh, that's
so-
right. Yeah. His original Ghostbusters script was like 300, 400 pages. So the game's writers would come up with the ideas, and then Ramis would focus it for narrative and humor, and Aykroyd would do that too, but then he would replace all the lines with psycho ghost babble nonsense.
Yeah. It's a class
his
4
specialty.
full floating vapor.
Yeah, exactly. All that kind of jack. So, Clint, you're going to be our Aykroyd.
Oh, yes.
As we've established, Clint is the Dan Aykroyd of this podcast.
Oh,
That's true.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. I love that guy. They gave me the script. I took it. I rewrote it, doing a little tiny structural things, mostly bringing back the tone of the original dialogue and the vernacular, the terms, the idiom, but they really had it. 2/3 of it was there. Then they gave it to Harold. He did the same thing.
He's like the vernacular. Clearly, that's not what that would be called, right? Like,
Class 4? It's class 7.
Come on now.
These
You know,
idiots
it's-
don't know if they're ass from their elbow when it comes to ghosts.
You know, it was really kind of interesting watching the game and listening to the dialogue, because the characters felt like the characters,
Yes.
but the dialogue felt really scripted, like
Oh yeah.
almost painfully scripted, because like it's a, and maybe this also has to do with the fact that if they're reading from a script, and that's something that they're not used to doing, especially with Ghostbusters, like getting Bill Murray to read a Peter Venkman line that he didn't improvise sounded weird.
Yeah, like there's definitely moments in the game where you realize that like some of them are just like, okay, I'll just get through this line.
Yeah.
And they're all recording separately. They're
Yeah.
not all in the same room. So how do you, when someone improvs something, you can't bounce that off, and you can't match that that energy.
Right.
Like there's moments in that, rewatching that thing, it was like there's moments in their conversations where you go, like someone will say a joke or someone will be like really high end, and then the next person will follow up and be kind of very low key because they're all recording separately. So it just doesn't, when you edit it together, you're like, oh, this is the best we got.
Well, and
Interestingly
video
enough,
game lines are so isolated too, right? Like it's just random lines because they're triggered by like stuff that happens in the video game, so that flow isn't there, and you probably can't improvise that many lines because it's like, look, we can't just have you like dicking around talking for 5 minutes. We just need this like 1-2 second line.
Yeah.
I would not want to be that original writer. Like, I have to write lines for these amazing improvisational actors. Like, I would not want to be that writer. Funnily enough, though, as I was watching it, the one that felt the most natural was Dan Aykroyd.
Oh, absolutely, 100%. I thought the same thing. Of all of them there, Dan Aykroyd was the best voice actor of all of them.
And when I was watching it, I didn't realize like when the game was originally made, because it's Harold Ramis, but he sounds a lot older than he did, and so I was like, I wonder who they got to do Ramis's voice, and then I thought about it for a second. I was like, wait, that's actually him.
Yep. Okay, so Melchior said that the story drastically changed once Harold Ramis and Dan Aykroyd joined. I don't know how that is, but this is what Harold Ramis. January, will you be our Harold Ramis?
Harold says, they were happy to have our involvement at all. The crassest way I can put it is that they couldn't have paid us enough to give it the time and attention required to make it as funny as a feature film.
Oh, that's kind of sad.
You read that interview and you're just like, that came out of nowhere.
He's just like video games.
It's fine, guys.
Fart sound.
It's fine.
Yeah.
But he was really part of it.
You guys were lucky that we even gave it a minor punch up. Okay? I'm like a feature film director.
I wanted to give it to Zootfly.
Yeah.
It is funny though. I feel like they're like back, even though it was still like the early 2000s, like prestige gaming wasn't really a thing, and so people had this view of video games that are just like, meh, they're nothing. They're not that important. They're not, that interesting or like. But now you have these games that have these amazing art styles and characters and voice acting, and the writing is like, The Last of Us. They literally took that video game and they're making it into a TV show now.
Exactly.
You know?
Okay, so for the game, the story is set in 1991 and is about, mild spoilers, Ivo Shandor trying to make himself a god, replacing Gozer. And Ivo Shandor he built the original building that Dana lives in, the first one.
Oh, the guy who was in the tomb in Afterlife, in like the pit.
Yes.
Sorry, also
Slight spoilers. Ivo Shandor does show up in Ghostbusters Afterlife.
You guys, look, if you haven't seen the movie, that's your problem, okay? Jeez.
It's not a big spoiler, but he is there. His body is in it. But we will actually go back to that. And the game kind of ties up loose ends from the films. Like, it has more information about the cult of Gozer, like how it works. And then it even explains how the slime from Ghostbusters 2 was pumped into the sewers of New York.
Okay.
So they were kind of like able to grab like all these random things. And then weirdly enough, speaking of Ivo Shandor, he has a very similar design to what he is in the movie. And I don't know if that's a reference to the game. Like, he has the same look.
Oh, like
he
the
has
kind of like mustache.
He had
and like
a mustache and a long beard and like just the side, like balding head with the like long hair, white. And that's what he looked like in the video game. And that's what he looks like in Afterlife. And I don't know if that was a reference to that, but I don't think Afterlife really considers the game canon.
Or cares about it.
Yeah.
Maybe that was just, like Dan Aykroyd did like a sketch on a napkin of like, this is what he looks like. And that became the official version.
He looks like my dad.
Looks, kind of like a Civil War general, but like also from the, with like a pointy beard and mustache.
That's a great way of pointing him.
Yeah.
And mostly just rehashes characters and locations and ghosts, because why not? I mean, if you're going to play a Ghostbusters game, you want to fight the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
Yeah, you want to see Slimer. Yeah.
Yeah. So you go back to the hotel and capture Slimer and stuff like that. You play a new non-speaking cadet who they test all the new equipment on, which is kind of like a running joke that if it kills him, at least it kill him. They deliberately wanted the player to be silent as not to ruin the comedic timing of the dialogue between the main four. So how does one become the 5th Ghostbusters, which is kind of like a really cool honor? Like, there's only 2 of those movies. They're really well-loved franchise. They haven't made one in 20 years. Like, how do you become the new one, right? The face used for the new cadet was associate producer Ryan French. And Clint, I think this pretty much describes you. So
all right.
you get to read this one.
Okay. Terminal Reality knew they wanted an average Joe to play the rookie character. When I heard this while visiting them for a milestone review, I enthusiastically volunteered. As a pretty average-looking Midwestern dude, I felt I fit the bill well enough for it to not seem too crazy a suggestion. The rest is history. Yeah, I am milquetoast. Like, I am average as fuck, dude. Like, I could 100% be that 5th Ghostbuster. Just an unassuming,
just really big Ghostbusters fan.
Yeah.
Unassuming guy wearing a proton pack.
Yeah. That's probably what he did. Is like, I got an idea.
He's in the meeting wearing the proton pack.
Picture this.
Oh, what?
He shows up like posing. Like, that guy.
When
Hey,
we
you!
did our episode, we mentioned that it kind of looks like all of the guys put together, like a mesh of their face on top of each other.
Yeah. That's amazing. They're just literally like, he's a blank canvas. The face is whatever you want it to be.
I like your version where it's like they all had a child together.
This is
They all
our
just
baby.
put all their sperm into a thing. Mix cocktail.
Oh my God. Who are you gonna call? He just hands him his like business card.
How about me?
This guy, average white guy.
Okay, so Melchior steps up his attempts to get Bill Murray. He sends Murray's lawyer an offer, and he doesn't even hear back from that guy. Probably because his lawyer probably is
His
just like,
lawyer
he
has
doesn't
to
care.
also call the 1-800 number.
Yeah.
That's the
It's
problem.
probably true.
That is the problem.
He's like, Jesus Christ. All right.
We've already established the only person who has Bill Murray's personal cell phone number is Wes Anderson.
Even his kids have to call the one.
No, his
Yeah.
kids have to call the 1-800. His brother, they're like, "Hey, Brian Doyle Murray, can you call?" He's like, "You guys, I also only have the 1-800 number."
in his gravelly voice.
Yeah.
He has like
Can't
one of
do
those
it.
kids' phones that only has like 5 numbers on it, and it pretty much just is Wes Anderson.
Yeah, it's just Wes Anderson's. It's like his fax and.
So the lawyer was also like, "Sorry, dead end."
Yeah, so he calls the 1-800 again. And this time he knows that Bill Murray loves golf. If you know anything about Bill Murray, he loves touring the world, just going to different golf courses. And so they offer to pay for Bill Murray to go to Hawaii to record. And then in between the sessions, they pay for rounds of golf.
That's not a bad deal.
Yeah, right? It's like,
If you like golf. I mean, that wouldn't sell for me.
I'd be like, "Well, the Hawaii thing sounds fine, but the golfing is not necessary."
You have to play golf. That's the
Yeah.
your only.
you're not in the sand unless you're in a sand trap. Okay, so all the while, Melchior is dealing with Vivendi executives. So Vivendi owns Sierra Entertainment, which is one of the oldest video game developers in the world. They did King's Quest, and they used to own Valve, which is now an enormous giant thing.
Mm-hmm.
And their bread and butter was Blizzard, Warcraft, StarCraft, and then World of Warcraft. So they were a big fucking company. These executives don't get the game, and they don't get the appeal of Ghostbusters.
They've seen the movies, right?
Apparently not.
They're
None
like,
of-
"It's about what?
Ghostbusters.
They're
That doesn't sound like
busting-
it's gonna go too far.
They're busting what now?" Ghosts?
Bill Murray.
I would not call them.
Is that the Star Wars guy from Saturday Night Live? Remember Grandma Fucker?
How can we
How
forget?
could we forget?
Grandma fucker.
How could we forget that guy?
I feel like that was a deleted scene from Poltergeist
it was.
with all the dead bodies coming out of the pool.
Oh,
Yeah.
Jesus. Grandma? All right. Multiple times, this guy tried to scrap the game because he didn't understand it. And at one point, cut their budget by 60%. This is what Melchior is fighting. He's fighting this kind of crap.
Jeez.
On a weekly basis. As Jenny Ray, who is the person here who makes video games, triggered?
Yes. I mean, I'm always triggered by this podcast as a person who worked in film and now games. I'm just constantly like, you had how much time and how little money? What? I'm sorry. What now? So my whole life is I'm just triggered constantly.
Yeah.
All the while, behind the scenes, another company in Slovenia is making the same game.
Yes. Yeah, you got to deal with that bullshit.
Can I just go work for them?
Obnoxious executives that don't understand your vision.
Yeah.
God. Yeah, no, that's but so Vivendi was the publisher.
Yeah.
And Sony was just involved by licensing the rights.
Yes, exactly.
And so like that had
so they have to-
had no clout to this guy. He was like, Sony, I don't care.
Yeah, pretty much.
So stupid.
He wanted to make it like this guy wanted to make it like a budget title, like something that you would find in a cereal box.
Oh, you're like rummaging through the bin at
Yeah.
the game store.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
like
Like
99
Like all those
cent
games
titles.
that featured Spot from the 7-Up.
Yeah, exactly. All that garbage. So shovelware, as it's called.
This guy is a bit of a grandma fucker, it sounds like.
That's
Jeez.
gonna be our new thing. Anytime we refer to somebody who's just like a complete and utter douchebag, like, what a grandma fucker.
So the game is about to reach alpha. Now, alpha is they have all the assets that they need to build everything. It's kind of like building a house. It's like it has all the walls. It's there.
It's
it
the
just
bones
needs,
of a
it's the
game.
bones. It just needs all the extra work to make it look pretty and work well. Get rid of all the bugs and stuff like that. So they're about to go to reach alpha. Suddenly, Melchior sees he has a voicemail. It's Bill Murray, and he's like, "Sure, I'll do it." But he's in South Carolina, and they have nice golf courses there too. So he's like, "Oh, I'll just do that. That's fine."
I got like, I don't know why, because this game's been out for over a decade, but when you said he has a voicemail from Bill Murray, like my heart was just like, oh, yes.
They did it. I mean, obviously they did it. Like we all knew Bill Murray was going to call back at some point.
Yeah.
I mean, Lorenzo Music was already dead, so.
I mean, maybe listeners didn't know. You don't know.
It's true.
Melchior calls back like, hell yes, like agreeing, like whatever you want. We can pay for South Carolina golf courses.
He actively chose South Carolina over Hawaii. I don't understand, but then again, I'm not a golfer, so.
Okay, keep in mind, this was a voicemail from Bill Murray.
Play.
So he had to call the 1-800 number again
Oh my God.
to tell him yes. No reply. So as the game keeps going, Melchior then calls Joel Murray. This is Bill's younger brother. He's a big voice actor. And what I remember him most from is One Crazy Summer with John Cusack. You might recognize him, but he is a big voice actor, to see if he could be like a sound-alike. So he calls him, gets that contact like started, but he hadn't heard back from Joel. Maybe he has a 1-800 too.
God, those Murrays are really hard to get a
I
hold
feel
of.
like Joel Murray's probably like the brother where Bill's like, I have another brother? Joel? I know Brian.
No,
Brian's got two names,
My
Brian
brother
and Doyle.
Brian and that other one.
Well, he thought Joel was Doyle. He's like, I've got Brian, I've got Doyle. No, that's one brother. Oh,
What?
I'm sure he's just like, I'm sure all the Murray brothers are just like, stop calling me trying to get in contact with Bill.
I don't have his phone number.
Exactly.
I don't know where he is.
I have to
don't
reach him the same way you do.
Yeah. Okay, so Melchior then meets with Sony, who tells them, much like the Ghostbusters 3 movie, no Murray, no go. Like, they can't make the rest of this game if he can't get Bill Murray.
Now, Bill had his falling out with the rest of them at this point, obviously.
Yes.
Because it was...
The falling out was in 93.
Okay.
This is 2006, 2007 or something like that.
Gotcha.
They wouldn't even accept a lesser Murray, a Joel.
Yeah, apparently, no.
Oh shit! They're like Bill or bust.
Let's try Andy.
Yeah.
Let's get Andy in here.
He's like, I can
Well,
see
you can
him.
take a sister at this point.
Yeah. Even the sisters all sound like a little bit like Bill Murray. Yeah, we could be
Petra
sound-alikes.
Venkman.
There is one sister who's got a real gravelly voice.
Okay, Melchior gets out of this meeting, walks into his office. Bill Murray calls.
Yes. Yes.
and says he'll record in New York.
That's amazing.
Where he generally is. He finally got Bill Murray. He goes to New York, starts recording with Bill Murray. He's there. He exists.
He did it.
That guy's got to go fuck his grandma now. He's got to dig her up first.
Yeah. He just hands him a shovel. Here you go.
I would, if I worked there, that would exactly what I would have done.
This is a giant fuck you.
Yeah.
And then coordinates to his grandma's grave.
Okay. So he says Melchior says that Murray seemed like he was enjoying it. Says he could tell they were like when he was going through the lines, he was like he could tell who what was written by Aykroyd or Ramis and whether or not it was actually the game's writers.
That's cool.
So Murray records by himself. So he's not with Aykroyd, Houston, or especially Ramis. So that allowed him, like, I think that made it easier for him to get into it. He's never done a video game before, so it's probably like, oh, yeah, this is kind of interesting. Only a couple of days of work, a bag of money, golfing.
Yeah.
As the day goes on, Melchior quickly realizes that Murray isn't going to stay around for the full script. And they have to get what they need from him before he disappears, right? So he's like, Murray is, as he's recording, Melchior and the writers are simultaneously going over the script, prioritizing all the must-haves. They're sitting there going, okay, we need these story beats and get as much as, they call it battle chatter. It's like, over there, help me, that kind of stuff, just random junk. And that's why if you remember, he just disappears for long portions. They're like, we're gonna go here, and he's like, I'm not going. I'll go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm gonna be in the museum party.
yeah. Yeah, exactly. Melchior said he had no gauge if Murray enjoyed doing this until he saw him on David Letterman saying it was fun. Where Murray says that it only took him a couple of days, so maybe like 3 days. He tells a story about he was enjoying being Peter Venkman again so much he was walking around New York singing the theme song to Ghostbusters.
Oh my gosh. Can you imagine seeing that?
Yeah.
That would be so amazing.
Well, and people were like kind of looking at him like, living in the past, buddy. Like, you're crazy. And then so the writers have to figure out how to patch all the holes that Murray had left. And Melchior calls up Ramis and Aykroyd and says, hey, can you guys come back and help fill in the gaps? And they're like, clearly you got Murrayed. And so, yes, they came back.
You got
and then,
Murrayed.
helped fill in all that stuff.
I love that his approach isn't like, oh, it's going to take a week to record these lines and I need to be available for the full week. He just goes, I feel like doing this for 2 days.
Yeah.
That's all you have.
Just his arms
Like,
in the air like that.
I just want to get to that point in my life where I can do shit like that and get away with it.
And people still really want to work with you.
Yeah,
right?
Yes.
Because
That's
you're just so
crazy.
mythical almost.
Right.
In December of 2007, Ghostbusters the video game reveals itself on the cover of Game Informer, showing off concept art, screenshots, and the cast of Ghostbusters all back together for the first time since '89.
Oh my God.
People are a little confused. They're like, is this that Zootfly game?
No way, really?
Well, yeah,
That's
because
amazing.
all those videos cropped up.
Yeah.
They disappeared, and then suddenly a couple months later, this magazine crops up, and they're like, "Wait a minute, is that the same thing? Or those just went up?"
I mean, it would make sense, right? Where you're just like,
Yeah.
oh, I saw some leaked footage of that
Yeah,
game.
exactly.
Yeah, you would think.
Completely unrelated.
Right.
That same month, just as they start making a marketing push, Vivendi Games announces they are merging with Activision. Activision, who does Call of Duty, Quake, Guitar Hero, Tony Hawk, Spyro, that big Activision, and they become Activision Blizzard. And Ghostbusters, the video game, now has an uncertain future. The merger happens in July of 2008, and the head of Activision Blizzard, Bobby Kotick, who is a terrible, awful
Hiss.
junk human, decides only a handful of properties will come under their banner, because as they're like merging, they have to be like, for every property that they bring over, they have to pay for blank amount, right?
You can't bring in like the 75th World of Warcraft.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
There's so many versions of World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Ghostbusters is not going to be one of them. The game
shit.
immediately falls into limbo, much to the surprise of Terminal Reality. This is also the case for Double Fine's Brutal Legend. They were also not picked up during the merger. The Ghostbusters game is about 75% done. And Kotick didn't, this is what he said, the game didn't have the potential to be exploited every year on every platform with clear sequel potential and have the potential to become $100 million franchises. Other than the fact that he says potential 3 times in one sentence, he's a bastard, man, because he wanted Call of Duty comes out every year. They did that for Guitar Hero every year.
Totally.
Killed Guitar Hero.
Yeah.
So many World of Warcraft expansions, like they just, like he runs that shit into the ground because they're supposed to make a bunch of money.
Yeah, they want your money every single year, like clockwork, or it's not worth them making it.
That's why it's taken so long to make Overwatch 2, because it's a story version instead of just online playable version.
Yeah, and I mean, Blizzard's going through it right now.
Well, yeah, they suck balls.
Men. I had a thing about
Goddamn patriarchy.
Bobby Kotick is basically the Rupert Murdoch of video games. He's a terrible person. Anyway, John Melchior is laid off.
Oh, no.
Milky.
Sorry, Steph.
He's just going to find his vengeance and actually become that Gozerian god. I am Melchior.
I am Zootfly now.
I'm gonna go work with Zootfly, motherfuckers.
That would be such a good end to this story.
I just hope Zootfly's doing well.
As rumors of it being canceled, Sony announces that it's just delayed. Even with this news, Terminal Reality is unsure about how that's going to happen. They don't have a way of getting this game out there. Now, as the video game person here, what's weird about this? What video game company could save Terminal Reality's Ghostbusters the video game?
I feel like I'm on the spot. I mean, like, couldn't Blizzard? I mean,
Sony.
There you go. You're the video game person, Ray.
They did
Well,
the
it's
same
like,
thing to me
'cause
last
they
time with the
own-
Godzilla reference. And I was like, okay.
Sorry, yeah, we like to put people on the spot here. But, like, yeah, because they
have their
Sony
own fucking-
And so much
owns
money.
Like they have their own arm.
PlayStation.
Yes.
Hello. Come together, you guys.
It's weird. So they're sitting there going, "What the fuck? Like, just
do
pick
it.
us up. Just pick us up." And this could be because they were also like they already sunk costs into like it was going to PS3, but also Xbox 360, PC, and they were making an alternate version of it for Wii. PSP and PlayStation 2. This is just it's the exact same game, but it's reskinned to be like cartoony. Kind of looks more like the cartoon actually.
Oh, gotcha.
But it's the exact same. Like it's all the voice. And it's the exact same thing. It just looks like a cartoon. It's like
Egon
more
is
of a-
blonde instead.
He's not, but he does actually kind of have that long
You have the
face and
curl.
everything.
Yeah.
So that may be the reason why. 3 months go by with very little work being done, and then all of the companies to save them was Atari.
Wow.
Hell yeah, Atari.
Wasn't expecting that.
Yeah.
They're just like, hey, remember us? We also used to make games.
Well, it's got to be so frustrating for everyone at that. What's the game company again?
Terminal Reality.
Yeah, they're probably like, do you know how hard it was for us to fucking get Bill Murray? You're dropping us? Yeah. Oh, I'd be so
The
pissed.
number of voicemails that were left.
After we beat out Zootfly and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
After we crushed them.
Atari. Oh, so they decide they rise from the ashes and
Yes,
decide to
exactly.
do something.
So they're now run by former Sony Computer Entertainment executive Phil Harrison. And Harrison was hired to revive the brand of Atari.
Okay.
Jenny Ray, our video game person, will you be our Phil Harrison?
What Bobby perhaps unhelpfully said was that those games were franchises which wouldn't make 100 million of revenue and generate sequels. If that's his benchmark, then fine, and we'd love to aspire to that same benchmark. But you know what? I would love to turn Ghostbusters into a $100 million franchise just to prove him wrong.
Yeah.
Like it.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah,
Mic
Harrison.
drop.
Your guy can go fuck his grandma.
Atari announces that Ghostbusters the video game will release June of 2009, which coincidentally happens to be the 25th anniversary of the original film's 1984 release.
Kismet.
Not only that, but Atari talks to Harold Ramis, who says, if you want this game done and done right, you need John Melchior.
Yes. Just like Atari rising from the ashes. Melchior!
That's what he did when he cut back into the office.
He just kicks the door down.
Just triumphant slow motion. Like the elevator doors open, it just like smoke comes out from
You get that
behind
song
him.
from the end of the Matrix. The ba-na-na, ba-na-na, da-na-na.
He's holding two heads, and they have the logo of one of them's Bobby Kotick, and the other one's the logo of Zoot Fly.
He kicks open the door. And Melchior's back, bitches.
So Melchior is rehired to see the game to the finish line.
That's cool.
Woo.
The extra time allowed Terminator Reality to polish the scary moments and the funny ones to bring the most authentic Ghostbusters experience. So one of the reasons I haven't really put a lot of video games on my list for this is because it's kind of weird to kind of talk about some games that have been having a lot of trouble that aren't well documented, because video games are very secretive, and a lot of the times it's like, oh man, we really couldn't get the physics on it, we're just not going through the wall correctly, whatever, and like, that's not interesting.
Well, that's what I told him when he's like, we gotta talk about Ghostbusters the game. I was like, is that the podcast worthy?
Our memory leaks.
That seems. I
Jesus.
know. I was like, that seems so boring. Like video games is like basically like a bunch of nerds in a room, like programming.
It's usually
like, it's not
programming issues. Yeah,
it's not that interesting. But he was like, I promise this is
The
interesting.
slime isn't flowing like slime should.
yeah, exactly.
The physics on this slime, the viscosity is all wrong.
Yeah, and so that doesn't make for a very interesting podcast unless you're like, if this was
Also,
directly meant for.
That's my job. I don't want to talk about it on a podcast.
But one of the things that they had to cut was a Thanksgiving Day parade level, which was kind of interesting. But then I was like, that same thing happens in the Ghostbusters reboot. There's all the balloons that come attacking them. I don't know if that was just pure coincidence.
Oh,
or not.
in Answer the Call?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
So the
One of
the
them
Stay Puft Marshmallow Night
Was a balloon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, the game releases on June 16th, 2009 on all those systems I mentioned, and there was also a DS version as well. So they put it on everything to get maximum money.
Yes, all the money.
Released the same day as the Blu-ray editions of the two movies. Remastered version came out October of 2019 on Xbox One, PS4, and Switch. As of today, via VG charts, which is kind of, video game sales are kind of weird. The companies have to tell you how much they made. It's kind of like Netflix. They don't really, they just put it out there if they want to. And via that, I went through all those editions and came to about 3.5 million copies, which is actually really good. So the budget of the game, they said, is about 15 to 20 million. So if the game's $60 for 3.5 million, that's 200 million.
Oh, so like it made a significant like profit. Sounds
and
like.
it did. They turned it into a $100 million franchise. Now, if you
$200
factor,
million franchise.
yeah, and if you factor in, if like I bought it like probably at $30, if you do that's half of that. That's 100 million.
Yeah.
But it still made money.
Right.
So, Aykroyd, this is what he said about the final game.
Now that I've seen the video game and watched it progress, my rap now to people is, this is essentially the third movie, and it's better than the third movie because it lasts longer and there's more development of the characters. The guys have done a great job putting story layers in there that I can begin to embellish and work with. And I tell people this, if you have an appetite for the third movie, then the video game is it.
So, I mean, of all people you want to get a glowing review from, right?
Yeah.
How
Well,
about,
yeah,
how
and
about
they,
him?
and they put in story elements from stuff that Aykroyd wanted to do in film that he wasn't able to do. Like they go to the ghost world and
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
So Aykroyd also stated in an interview that he wanted Alyssa Milano, who plays the female character Elsa Silwin. She voices that character in the game, and he was like, I want her to be in Ghostbusters 3, which is funny because she's fucking terrible in the game. She was really bad.
Yeah.
She's not a voice actress. And this is finally what Melchior said about finishing the game.
It was a great feeling, and we felt that it was the unofficial sequel. Dan said as much in several interviews. We set out to create a game that felt like the movie, and it fit in the canon. Did we hit it 100%? Of course not. But we sure as hell tried harder on that game than any other game I produced. We wanted to make Mark Kaplan proud, and we wanted to make the cast proud. We wanted the fans to be proud. Harold thanked us for keeping the franchise alive, and Dan told us that Mark Kaplan and we did more for the license coming back than anything else over the last couple of decades.
That's
All
pretty
right.
nice.
That is
Yeah.
nice. Yeah.
This would be Harold Ramis's last performance until a week later. His movie Year One came out, and that was his last two things he ever did.
I've never
I'd
seen that.
cover that in the video as well. That garbage.
I was about to say, I feel like maybe he wants to be known as Ghostbusters, the
Yeah.
game as
Yeah.
his last role.
Look, the last thing he did was Ghostbusters the game.
Yeah, let's not talk about
That's
that.
our story. We're sticking to it. This was the last thing he did.
He died in February of 2014. Atari went bankrupt in January of 2013, and a sequel to Ghostbusters drowned with it. Later that year, after the failure of The Walking Dead Survival Instinct, which is a game they made with it's about Daryl and Merle.
Merle. Yeah, his
before
brother.
they join up with in the show.
Mm-hmm.
It's like before that, and it follows them, and they have the actors Norman Reedus and Michael Rooker are actually voice their characters in it, but it was like a rushed title so they could get it out faster. So it is terrible. And after that, Terminal Reality closed their doors in December, and John Melchior is now just working on Call of Duties.
Just all the Call of Duties.
Oh, he's like, "Oh, just don't make me call Murray again. Please, please.
He's going to
I'd
make a
play
game called Call of Murray.
Yeah.
It's you just go into a room and there's just a phone. And you just have to call 1-800-BILL-MURR
answers.
over and over again. And you have to try different tacks
What
to
is
like
madness?
see what will make him call you back. I think
There's just a profile of Bill Murray. You're like,
Yeah.
Here's his history.
Knowing
he loves
what
golf.
you know about Bill Murray,
Yeah.
what would make him
Hi,
answer
this
the
is
call?
Wes Anderson.
That would be an amazing iOS game.
That's what you could get Bill Murray to do that.
Hi, you've reached Bill Murray's answering machine. Please be interesting.
Good luck.
Yeah.
That's all it says. Good luck. He totally would, because he's just weird enough to do some
Yeah.
shit like that.
Okay, was Ghostbusters the video game worth it?
I guess as the only person here who's actually played it, other than Ian, Steph, what do you think?
I think it was really enjoyable. It brings the nostalgia back from the games or from the movies. And like I said, it's what you expect out of a Ghostbusters game.
Yeah, it has the elements that you want.
So yes.
What was your favorite part of it?
They actually made this was funny. At the end, the whole time you're like, I want to drive the fucking Ecto. When can I drive the Ecto? And they do this real fun teaser at the end where they're like, should we let the rookie drive Ecto? And you're like, yes, you should. And they're all like, nah.
Yeah, it's like
You motherfucker.
yeah.
They troll you the whole
That's
game.
what we do.
Yep. My brother's
man.
a big gamer, and he really liked it. And if you know my brother, you'll know that he likes very little. But no, he really enjoyed it. And everyone gives Ghostbusters 2 a hard time. I loved Ghostbusters 2. I mean, of course, Ghostbusters, the original, I'm wearing the shirt. I got the Proton Pack. It's obviously one of my favorite movies, right?
Yeah.
But the thing I really liked about the game is that they added to those. The whole stuff about the slime. I was like, oh yeah,
Yeah, it's like
that's where did that come from? Yeah, it came from Shandor, just
Shandor's,
just fucking it up. So I was like, okay. So I like that the whole idea is the real bad guy over the course of everything is Shandor.
yeah.
It's not Gozer, it's
Yeah.
not Vigo, it's
Yeah.
Shandor, and I like because he's human.
Right,
I don't
he's
know.
pulling the strings.
Yeah, I like that. I thought that was really cool. I never played the game.
Well, I haven't played the game either, but I guess I'll come at it from the perspective of what they said Aykroyd said, which is where they kept the spirit of the franchise alive long enough to, get some other things made. And obviously, it's debatable whether Answer the Call was successful, and I know your video goes into that. But like if it kept the interest alive long enough for us to get Afterlife, I'm good with that, you know. And it is like a beloved franchise that everybody seems to like, and it sounds like the game was like pretty fun and well made. So yeah, I mean, that's like, I'm not going to complain about more good video games in the world,
Yeah.
especially if they're not, you know, like the 19th Call of Duty or World of Warcraft or whatever the hell like sequel they release every single year.
I think it's an okay game. Like it's fine. It needed some more time, maybe a little bit more polish. It's essentially a fishing game. Like,
Oh, you're just like catching
That's
catching
kind of
ghosts.
fair.
because it's just literally you hook something and then you're pulling the opposite direction that they're pulling. And
Oh, interesting. Okay, so
then you have to-
fishing mechanics.
yeah.
I see.
I did like
Well,
there's-
kudos to them for making a fishing game like interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's still you're busting ghosts, like hell yeah, right?
Yeah.
I did like how like there's not much of a HUD in the game, a heads-up display. Like everything is on your proton pack, to know where if things are gonna overheat and stuff like that. I think that's kind of cool. There were some interesting notes I put on here. It was like I like that there's a couple moments where regular New Yorkers are reacting to the chaos, which is a very key thing about the first Ghostbusters movie. Like when they're in the elevator and there's guys like, I told you we should have gone out for sandwiches or whatever the fuck it was.
Yeah.
And
You know, New Yorkers.
yeah. And then there's this other guy, like there was a line about Winston finishing his doctorate. I thought was kind of interesting. So Winston of the podcast.
As the Winston of this podcast can attest. I
Yeah.
don't have a doctorate, but you know.
Yeah, so he's one of them now. I thought it was weird that they called Gozer a he in it,
Yeah.
which was kind of weird.
Because even in the game, like, girls are girls, it goes whatever it wants to be.
Yeah, that's from the first movie. I thought that was so strange that line just went. It was like, yeah, that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was the whole point of Gozer is that they were neither gender.
Yeah, they whatever they wanted, right?
Yeah.
It was
Gozer was
they.
a man. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's whatever it wants to be.
yeah,
Yes,
Maybe that's why
queen.
the trolls hate it, because Gozer was a man.
yeah.
You try to change it. Gozer has to have a penis.
Yeah, or he's not threatening.
Oh, Jesus.
So one of the things that actually, Clint, that you could have played it, like you would have discovered this. One of the really fun things about it is their particle system, their physics engine. They were really like touting like how much crap you can blow up with your proton pack in it, and there are achievements in the game based off of the amount of destruction you're doing.
Oh,
And
fun.
so like if you can, it's this constant thing of like you're catching ghosts and it gives you money to do upgrades, but if you break shit, like it goes against it.
It comes out of your pocket.
Yeah, exactly.
You're constantly getting bills for how much
Yeah.
destruction.
And there's like an achievement for like finishing the game with like property destruction under like $35,000 or
That's
something
awesome.
like that. So it's just kind of really like, which is really funny because that's such a Ghostbusters thing. That's okay. I'll pay for that. Like how they're just destroying the
Yeah.
ballroom.
Oh,
like
My fault. My fault. I'll pay for that. Yeah.
yeah. So I think that's just a really fun mechanic that they threw in there that doesn't really affect it that much, but it's just really funny.
That's really
that
is
is pretty good.
Before we go, I just wanted to give a special shout out. Sorry, Steph, you're here, so you're just gonna have to put up with our fan mail here. But a
We're
shout
just
out.
trying to just brag about the 3 fans we have.
I think you should.
Okay. 2 very lovely people sent us some awesome emails. Neil from the UK,
Woo woo.
who discovered us all the way back on episode 4, Actor Feuds, which was
Oh, heck
really
yeah.
early on. He found us on YouTube and
fun
has
episode.
listened to every episode twice. Said he
What?
Clint didn't know. He just blew Clint's mind. He's like, what the fuck? I haven't even listened to every episode once.
I mean, I do listen to every episode after they're released. That's just because I'm horribly
narcissistic.
yeah, exactly.
You just skip. You're like, can I hear me? And then you skip.
Yeah,
Am I talking? Am I
Is this
talking?
when I make that funny joke?
that's closer to the truth than anything else. Like, I'll find those funny things that I say.
I'm fucking funny. Man. Alone in his car.
It's so true though.
Calling him out.
I'll just be driving. I'm like, that was really funny, and then I'll just start laughing at it. But then
You pull over and like give yourself a slow clap.
yeah, man.
Well done.
Yeah. No, I'm laughing at all of us. Come on. You're all funny.
Neil said that he goes on YouTube and smashes that like button like a bitch.
Yes.
He
Be
is-
more like Neil, everybody.
He is not offended by our attempts at British accents.
Ooh, that's good because Clint,
yeah.
that was rough last time.
Are you kidding me?
Bond.
I don't know what happened. In high school, I could pull off a reasonably passable British accent, but over the years, I think it happened after I started watching Flight of the Conchords. But anytime I try to do a British accent, it always inevitably goes into
It goes into Kiwi.
like
Or
Australian.
Australian,
Yeah.
Yours last one was very much more Australian.
I thought you were going to say the ravages of age.
Yeah, that is
Taking their toll.
also true. Have you seen my hairline? Yeah, that's why I wear a hat.
Also, Vicky from Canada found us on Spotify, her number 4 podcast of the year.
Ooh, on the Wrapped thing, huh?
Yeah.
You guys,
Um,
that's a huge honor.
She found us on the Emperor's New Groove episode, which, Vicky, I'm talking to you directly right now. You need to watch the YouTube version of that because it's full of visual gags. You'll love it. She said she laughs, she learns, then repeats our tidbits to her family and friends.
Yes.
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 She misses us when we aren't doing new episodes, but she is an entitled fan like certain DC folk.
It's goddamn DC fans. Our fans are way better than DC fans.
And I said, apologize if we make too many Canadian jokes. And she says, Canadians are like losing Oscar nominees. You can make fun of us, and we still just feel honored to be nominated.
Aw, God damn it, Canada's the best.
Right?
Vicky's tender. I like her.
January read that email. She's like, Vicky is delightful.
Vicky is a delightful human. I'm so happy that
I like
is
that
a
she.
fan.
I like that she said she brings her tidbits back to her family. I can just only imagine after this episode, she's gonna be like, "Do you know that Melkor became a god?"
Truth.
Let me tell you about
100%
Grandma
fact.
Fucker.
Yeah.
I don't even remember that guy's name. He's Grandma Fucker forever.
Oh man, dead grandma.
Grandma Fucker Forever would be like a great band name.
like a heavy metal
Yeah,
band.
So
exactly.
true, a
Yeah.
heavy metal band name.
DGF. And lastly, also thanks to Phil on TikTok for the shout out, and Abby on Instagram. I discovered your message like an hour ago.
We're not great at Instagram messages, so
Yeah,
apologies if
yeah.
you've ever tried to message us and it never got through.
She's also from the UK and says our English accents could use some fine tuning.
Yeah, fact.
We will
Fact.
take dialect coaching lessons. I promise.
Oh, there's nothing wrong with this.
Just the
Everybody
worst.
to us are cartoons.
Just the worst British accents.
Oh man.
As the boring Midwest looking motherfuckers. The generic people at this table.
Yeah, we'll fit in as a faceless Ghostbuster, but there's no way we could ever be Brits.
Thank you all. And Steph, where can people find you?
You can find us. We're going to start our new season in the beginning of January. We are on Instagram on Cutscenes and Cupcakes, Facebook on Cutscenes and Cupcakes. We occasionally twit.
On the tweeters?
On the Tweeter sphere. But we're
That's
also
a very Canadian thing to do.
we also are twitching weekly, so you can watch us play games and mostly poorly, especially on my part. But Twitch is a lot of fun, so come check us out.
Thanks for coming. This was a
Thank
lot
you
of fun.
for having me.
For sure. And thanks for inviting us to remote cons.
Yes,
those
I
are
love
fun.
you guys at Remote Cons.